Hey, welcome to my channel. Today I am talking about your perception of your specific person, your ex. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member that you're struggling with. You want to get back on track, you want to get a decent relationship with them, or maybe you're struggling to manifest them because of all of these character traits that you have given them over time that you feel they can't come back because this, why would they, because that, because they're like this and because they're like that. They're stubborn, and finding all of these sort of reasons within you that they can't come back, but because you have made that part of them, you have made them this character. So the vibration that you have of your specific person is the vibration that you have created of them. So the version that you experience is the vibration that you have of them. That's exactly what you experience. So how do we change that without resistance? Because that's the problem that you guys have. It's a resistance thing. You really struggle feeling like you're lying to yourself when you're trying to tell yourself that they're this and they're that, when you know categorically that at the moment they are not. And so you struggle, your rational brain struggles and keeps telling your subconscious, no, of course it's not. No, of course it's not. What you're talking about, they're not like this, but because they're like this and they're like that. So how do we do that in a less resistant way? How do we make that easier? It's fairly simple, actually. What we do is we bring them to mind and we think, okay, let's just list all of the negative, what we consider to be negative character traits. What are they? List them all in our heads, and then we find the positive. Because I would hope, if you want somebody back in your life, that there are a few positives about them. Otherwise, why would you want them? You'd have to question that. If you can't find anything, I would seriously question why you want this person back in your life. But if you do manage to find some, which I'm sure that you will, even if it's just one or two, what you do is you decide that you are purely going to focus on those aspects of their personality. You are not going to focus on the negative at all. So when they come to mind, which they probably do all of the time, you would have a feeling of them, and that's their vibration. So you feel them, and then you focus on those great points about them. Maybe they're fun, you have real good laugh with them, maybe they're kind, whatever you consider to be positive, you focus on that. And then you start talking to yourself about them. Oh, it's so great how they're like this, it's so great how they're like that. You don't have to then believe that something is happening, that you're trying to create a situation, because you're not. You're just talking about them and how great they are. You can make up scenarios in your head based around these positive traits that you know that they already have. You're not trying to implant there. So you can, whatever kind of self-talk goes in your head about them, you just change that based on what you know already is true about them, and you don't focus on those negative traits at all. And so basically you set yourself a task that I'm going to do this for a month, 28 days, whatever. I am going to do this, and every time I call them to mind, or every time they're in my head and I feel that resistant feeling, I'm going to think about the positive things about them and really focus on those positive things. I'm going to maybe go back, if it's an ex, and look at situations in the past where those positive traits were really evident, and I'm going to remind myself of those. And you just kick out the other stuff. I'm not saying that you have to believe that that's not there anymore. You just don't focus on it, and that's all that you need to do, really. So if you were to do this religiously, and I mean every time you start getting the negative stuff coming in, you start thinking about, they did this because they're stubborn, because this, because that, you drop it and you immediately focus on the positive, and then you can build on that positive. But first of all, I think it's key to do this for about a month. Do that without adding anything different in, because then you don't feel like you're lying to yourself. You're not giving, your rational brain can't keep harping on at you, telling you that you're wrong, because you're not wrong, because it knows that those things about them are true, are right. And you can then, after that month, you can then start making up some stories based around those positive traits. Okay, it hasn't happened in reality, and it's not necessarily something that you're trying to make happen. That's key here. If you're going to think of a situation, don't think to yourself, I'm going to try and make this happen by imagining it. Don't do that. This is not this kind of exercise. Just make up a scenario that would be fun. If it did happen, this scenario would be fun and based around those character traits that they have, and just enjoy that feeling. But I'm not talking about a visualization here or imagination. I'm talking about words, because those words create a vibration, and those vibrations then show back to us in real life. We're just creating that. So what I always say to people, my members particularly, is you can't create one thing whilst vibrating another. If you want to create this a different version of your specific person, but you keep harping back to the old version, you're vibrating that. And because that's the version you see at the moment, that vibration is going to be much stronger than the new vibration that you are trying to cultivate. So you have to keep focusing on that. You have to keep focusing on the version that you want to see in order to not see the old version. So doing it this way, without adding extra things in to start with, is a really good kickoff point. So I would say get to the end of the 28 days and think, how do I feel about them now? What's my perspective on the situation now? Is it different? I'm not going to guarantee that you'll feel a change, but I'm pretty certain that you will feel a little shift, at least in your perception and your perception of them as a person and the whole situation. You might start to see what happens slightly differently, because you can do that too. You can use this as a mix with revision as well. So changing the last event that was the straw that broke the camel's back or whatever, revise that. And use it and do that based around their positive character traits. How could it have been different? How would your subconscious imagine that it could have been different if it hadn't got out of hand? So you can use it mixed with that. It's just a really, really effective technique with pretty much zero resistance. And that's what we're looking for here, the path of least resistance. And that's what this does, because you're focused on aspects of them that are true. You're not making stuff up. But then when you get to the end of that month, then you can start making a couple of things up, sticking a couple of extra things in there that you would like to see, because then you're so focused on that positive and you've changed your perception of them in such a way that your subconscious will then allow that, will take that on board, take the new stuff on board. But key is to do it. Don't rush at it, and don't see this as a speedy manifestation exercise. What we're looking at doing is changing your perspective of the situation, changing your overall feeling of them, your overall vibration of them, because then what has to happen is you have to start experiencing that new version. You just have to, because you're vibrating it constantly. So you're never going to experience that old version again whilst you're vibrating this new version. And then when you do start experiencing the new version, what you don't want to do is then start letting yourself fall down that rabbit hole again. And you want to keep this as part of your manifestation toolbox. Okay, this is just something that you do. So every time you feel yourself going down a rabbit hole, you pull yourself back up with thoughts of the positive, not making stuff up, just focused on positive. And you can do this in any situation in life. If I need to change my perspective on something, I'm not just talking about people here, on anything, on a situation, what I've done this for a long time actually, is as you've probably heard me talk about before, I pick out the positives and I focus on those positives, and I think, how can I reflect on those positives and sort of build momentum around those positives in order to feel differently about the situation? Because I've been doing this for a long time, and it's just something that I do fairly naturally now, I can really change my perspective on something in a second. I really can. And I couldn't do that at first, but I can, because I know this works and I get the I can't really say the science behind it, but I get the rational thinking behind it too. Of course, if you focus on the positive, you can change your perspective of something, and I know that I can do that, and I can immediately, pretty much with most circumstances, feel a shift within me. I can just feel it, and it's shifted then, and I go with it. I don't then start going backwards. I never allow myself to go backwards with anything these days, and I had done that a lot in the past, slip back into the old thinking, and then it happens all over again. You have to do it again. But this, if you see this as a really worthwhile practice for every single aspect of your life, not just for them, so you don't get exasperated with it so much then, because you know that you can use this in anything, any situation in your life, not just for them. So, and it's simple. It's quite fun actually, because when you start to feel the shift, you start to enjoy it a bit more, and you think, oh, I feel slightly differently, and you get on with that, and you think, brilliant, I want to feel a little bit more different. And so you do it again, and you do it again. And then when you feel that if you tell yourself, look, all I'm doing here is trying to change a vibration of an event, a situation, a person, I'm not trying to convince myself that something else is true, you just release a load more resistance, because you're just focusing on good aspects, positive aspects, in order to change that vibration slightly enough to then start experiencing that version of events, that version of a person. I hope that that makes sense. I mean, sometimes when I try to explain these things in words, it's ever so difficult because I do everything based around my feelings. Then trying to put my feelings into words for you guys and to explain how you can use this yourself in order to make things easier, just make your whole life easier, it becomes quite difficult. And I don't know if I'm using the right words to explain it. So you know that you guys can email me. I can't guarantee that I won't take about a week to get back to you if you're not a member. That's just because I'm just so busy at the moment. My members take up a lot of my time, and that's fine. I like that. That's what it's there for, the members area. So I prioritize them basically, and I write too. So I've got a lot of stuff going on, but I will really do my best to get back to you. Occasionally, my emails do end up in spam, and I do check those every so often, but I'm not very good at checking them. I forget, and then I might find a message has been in there for over a week, but I will always come back to it. I guarantee you, I will answer you, but you might have to wait a little bit. So there you go. I mean, that's a fairly simple exercise, but has a huge effect. I can't believe that I haven't talked about this before, really. I think it's because I've never seen it as a huge deal. It's just something that I've done fairly naturally. I don't think it was ever something, I think I've probably done it throughout life to a certain degree. So I've never thought of it as really being part of this, but of course it is. And there is no resistance. So give it a go. Let me know how you get on. I've been really happy to help you if you're stuck with it. And yeah, pop onto my website and have a little look there. There's loads of blog posts on there, really hopefully very useful blog posts. So that's all free content. So have a read and, see if I can help you a little bit more. If you haven't subscribed, then I would also love for you to do that. And my son Harrison Ellis has his own Law of Attraction channel, which is listed below.